Welcome back, I'm George, and in this video I'm going to show you the first things you need to do on your new MacBook Neo. Of course, I have functionalities, I have customization options, and much more. So that being said, and without any further ado, let's begin with the first thing you always need to do on this computer, which is to come right here to the settings page. Then tap right here on the general subsection, then tap on about, and right here where it says name, you can just essentially replace the name that comes by default for anything you want. Now, as you can see, there's no limits to what you can use as your name, but I suggest you're careful because everybody is going to see this name when you connect to other devices or share data. So you can be funny, but don't be too funny. Now, that being said, another essential thing you have to do, especially if you bought a MacBook Neo, is to come right here to the display settings and then tap on more space. As you can see, there's multiple options for the size of the elements on your computer, and ideally you want to tap on more space because it is going to give you more space than with the default option, but you maintain most of the clarity and sharpness. In a computer that's relatively small with only 13 inches, this can go a long way in terms of increasing your workspace without necessarily having to use an external display. Now, that being said, something else you can do on the MacBook Neo is to come right here to Desktop and Dock, and then select the option to automatically hide and show the dock. As you can see, it is going to automatically hide it so it doesn't take up space all the time. And so apps can take up more space of your computer, giving you even more real estate to do what you want to do. Now, that being said, and more in the same vein, if you come right here to the menu bar settings, as you can see at the top, you can also automatically hide and show the menu bar. By default, it is going to say never, but you can select always. And just like that, you will not have an automatically shown dock or an automatically shown menu bar, so you can have as much space as possible for your apps, essentially full screen. And well, much like with the dock, if you want to see the menu bar, you just have to place your cursor at the top and automatically it will come down so you can access that menu bar. But anyway, that being said, let's now start optimizing your battery health and battery life. Honestly, I believe these are the most important things I'll show you in this video and the ones that will have a bigger impact in your user experience. So first of all, right here on the battery section on your settings page, you want to come right here to the charging section, then tap on the information button, and then you want to set a charge limit. It can be 95%, it can be 90%, ideally 90%, I think that's the sweet spot. I believe this would give you the best return on investment, so to say. Of course, with this option turned on, you can only access 90% of your battery potential, but this is really good in terms of extending your battery health. And of course, it comes turned on by default, but I also suggest you turn on optimized battery charging, which also helps extend the life of your battery. And well, now to make up for that 90% limit, now I'm going to show you how to improve your battery life. So let's come down here to the notifications tab, then swipe down to reveal all of the apps that can send notifications on your computer. In my case, I don't really have a lot of apps, but if you have all of your apps installed, you'll see it's a longer list. And ideally, what you want to do is to deselect every single app that you don't really need to be sending notifications. Of course, as you probably guess, the most amount of apps that are turned on this list, the more apps are going to be connecting to the internet, updating in the background, and therefore burning battery life. The least amount of apps you have on this list, the more battery life you'll have. Now, if you swipe down here to privacy and security and then tap on location services, ideally you want to disable maybe not all of your apps, because in this case, I believe Maps, needs my location services. But Siri, I don't really need Siri to have access to my location. And then right here on system services, if you tap on details, you'll see that there's a bunch of things you don't need to be accessing your location. System customization, the home app if you don't use it, your Mac analytics, all of these things don't really need to access your location, and they burn battery life when they are turned on. Now, that being said, another great way to save battery life is to come up here to the Bluetooth section on your settings, and we'll disable Bluetooth. A lot of times you don't really use Bluetooth on your laptop. The only exception would be if you're using a wireless mouse or if you connect your AirPods. But if that's not the case, you can turn it off and it is going to make a big difference in your battery life. And well, another very good tip to save battery life is to come down here to Apple Intelligence and Siri. And here where it says listen for, you want to turn it off. I think by default, it is going to be set to Siri or Hey Word. I don't want to turn it on your computer or device, but ideally you want to turn it off because this feature is essentially activating the microphones to be working all the time, trying to listen and find if anybody is saying those words. And of course, that's not good for your privacy and it's not good for your battery life either. Now, that being said, and now that we're here on the Apple Intelligence section, I suggest you turn on Apple Intelligence. I think in most computers it comes turned off by default, but for some of the features I'm going to show you in this video, I think you need to turn it on. It's not really going to make that big of a difference, but unfortunately it is necessary to make the most out of your Mac. And well, that being said, and as a final battery saving tip, if you swipe down to the focus section, then you tap right here on Do Not Disturb and you turn it on, whether it is at a specific time or all the time, you can also save some battery life. And well, as you can see, there's not a clear toggle to turn it on. So if you're having issues, I suggest you come right here to the control center, then tap on focus, and then tap right here on Do Not Disturb. And well, that way you can turn it on without having to understand this, section. I'm not even sure you can turn it on through the settings. So yeah, if you're having issues finding the way to do it here, you can come to the control center and enable it that way. But anyway, that being said, and before we move on, now I actually have something for you watching this video. This video is sponsored by Clean My Mac, the best app for me to clean and organize my Mac. It is Apple notarized and it has a really good 4.7 rating on Trustpilot. It offers a really simple interface if you just want it to work. As you can see by tapping on Smart Care, it'll scan your Mac looking for useless files, duplicates, and even dangerous malware you didn't know was there, thanks to the Moonlock scanner. Or if you want to use one of these tools individually, you'll find them all in the Clean My Mac sidebar. And well, you can access the My Clutter tab to review all of your files and try to identify even more junk that was taking up space. Oh, and if you usually work with cloud storage, like iCloud, you can also take advantage of the same cleanup functionalities thanks to the Cloud Cleanup feature, which helps you scan all of the files you have on the cloud with the advantage that it does it locally on your Mac, so all the data is completely safe. You will find a link to get Clean My Mac down below in the description, and you can use code GEORGE20 for 20% off. Thank you, Clean My Mac, for sponsoring this video. But anyway, that being said, let's now get back to the MacBook Neo because I have a lot more things I want to show you. So once again, here on the settings page, if you tap on the wallpaper subsection, you'll see that there is a very long list of official Apple wallpapers you can use on your Mac. Of course, right here at the top, we have the headline wallpapers we've seen with every macOS version. Then we have a lot of landscapes. We have a lot of cityscapes, underwater. As you can see, there's 79 for this one. There's 30, 21. There's a lot of different options. I'm not really sure if you can appreciate the sharpness in the video, but trust me, it is very sharp. So if you use this on a 4K display, 6K display, 8K, whatever, it is always going to look very, very sharp. But anyways, that being said, let's now tap here on Appearance because your wallpaper is not the only thing you can change on your Mac in terms of customization. Right here at the top, we have the option to choose between the light mode and the dark mode, which is essentially going to turn every white surface into a dark surface. Of course, this is a matter of personal preference. Now, a little bit below, we can also choose to enable or disable liquid glass, which once again would be a matter of personal preference, but it also makes a difference in your battery life. Liquid glass has a lot of reflections and transparencies, and those things generally take a little bit more performance than the traditional tinted mode, so they also burn a little bit more battery life. Now, a little bit below, you can also change the color theme, which essentially will be the color that shows on your menus, on your folders, on Finder, and generally across your Mac. Traditionally, you had the multicolor option, which, had different colors for the different things on your computer. But now Apple gives you a list of colors to choose from and an exclusive color that's only available with the MacBook Neo, which of course would be the color of your MacBook Neo. In my case, as you can see, I have a blue tint, which is very similar to the chassis of the MacBook. But if you have the silver, the green, or the pink MacBook Neo, you'll have another custom color for that computer that is only available on that computer. Then a little bit below, you can choose the icon and widget style, which by default is the default option, but you can also use dark mode widgets and icons. As you can see, not all of your icons are going to have a dark mode. Some of them stay the same, but most have a darker tint. Then, as you can see, you have a clear mode, which makes everything transparent and translucent. I think it is pretty aesthetic, but maybe not the best in terms of readability because things are very, very pale. But you can also enable dark mode inside of the clear mode, which means your icons are going to be transparent, but also darker transparent. It's kind of confusing, honestly. It's kind of a mix between clear and dark mode. And then you have the infamous tinted mode that lets you tint your icons to essentially any color you want. You can tap right here on automatic and then select any color you want. As you can see, you can choose for everything to be green. Although, to be fair, if you're having trouble making this look aesthetic, I suggest you tap right here on the color selector, then tap on choose color, and then tap on color bigger. Because that way you can select one of the colors on your wallpaper and have a much better chance, as you can see, of the icons matching the wallpaper that you have on your device. Now, a little bit below on the Windows section, we also have the option to increase and decrease the sidebar icon size. So if before you came here to display and enabled the more size option, as you can see, things now look a little bit smaller. Here you'll be able to increase the size of your sidebar so it is a little bit easier to read even with everything being smaller. But anyway, that being said, and moving on, I'm going to give you a very good tip to organize your desktop. I'm pretty sure a lot of you, as you use your computer, start getting a very cluttered desktop with a lot of icons and apps and documents, and it starts to get a little bit uncomfortable to navigate around. So Apple came up with a very clever solution. If you double tap on your trackpad, you can tap right here on this option called Use Stacks, and you'll see that automatically everything stacks in folders. In my case, I only had screenshots, so I have a screenshot folder. But if you had documents and photos and screenshots and apps, all of those things are automatically going to organize in folders, so things look cleaner and you can navigate around in a much easier way. And well, that being said, especially if you're using a Mac, you'll probably notice that your icons on your desktop don't generally look this organized. Generally, on the Mac, since there's no magnetization, icons generally look like this in a very uneven way. But thankfully, there is a very easy solution. Once again, you have to double tap on your trackpad, then tap on Sort By, and then tap on Snap to Grid. You'll see that nothing happens, that's fine. But then once you select all of your icons and then move them a little bit like this, you'll see that they automatically align. And even better, this will not only apply to these icons, it will apply to every new icon you place on your desktop. Now moving on and also double tapping on your trackpad, if you come here to Edit Widgets, you'll see that you can add and replace the widgets that come by default. I think on every new computer, you'll get the weather widget here at the top left. But if you don't like it, you can tap right here on the minus button and delete it. And if you want, you can replace it for other widgets, as you can see. Now, they automatically place themselves in a very organized way, but if you tap here on Done and then tap on a specific widget, you can move it around and place it anywhere you want. That said, something a lot of people don't know is that if you swipe on your dock to access your notification center, you can tap here on Edit Widgets and add more widgets to your notifications page. If you've been using a Mac for a long time, you'll remember that we used to have the widgets on the notifications tab. So if you liked it that way, that is also an option. Now, that being said, I'm pretty sure you've noticed that by default, when you click on your desktop, this happens. There's this weird outline thing and all of your windows go away, and then you have to tap again and your windows are not selected. You have to select again. It's weird. You probably don't like it. You want it to go away. And well, thankfully, you can make it go away. If you come here to the desktop and dock section on your settings, then swipe down to desktop and storage manager, there's going to be an option called click wallpaper to show desktop. By default, it is going to say always, but you can tap on only in stage manager. Now, if you click on your desktop, nothing happens. Now, that being said, and moving on, I want to talk about multitasking. There is a lot of very interesting features on this computer, but I want to start with the basics. So if you use 3 fingers on your trackpad and swipe up, you can access the mission control, so you can see all of your current desktops. If you swipe to the right side, you can create a new desktop where you'll be able to place different apps so they are not on the same desktop. Now, if you swipe down with 3 fingers, you can leave the mission control. And then if you swipe laterally with 3 fingers, you can access your different desktops. Ideally, you want to think of this as having multiple monitors on your computer, but instead of having to buy those monitors, you can instead swipe like this and quickly glance between them. Now, that being said, another very interesting multitasking option on the Mac is to have 2 apps working side by side. To do that, you have to swipe one of your apps to the right and then one of your apps to the left, like this, and automatically you'll see them side by side, so you can use both at the same time. Now, as you can see with the App Store, some apps take up a minimum amount of space, which in this case is a very big amount of space. But with most apps, you'll be able to do a 50-50 split, so you can use both side by side. And well, if you want to do something a little bit more complex, like having 3 apps or 4 apps at the same time, you can come here to the green icon on any app, then hold, and you'll see that a bunch of options show up. You can place that app on the left, on the right, at the top, the bottom. As you can see, you can create a 4-app layout. So the apps would arrange so you can see 4 of them at the same time. And well, something a lot of people don't know is that if you come here once again to the green dot and hold, you can tap on option to reveal secret multitasking options. So once again, by default, you get this one right here. But if you tap on option, you'll get alternative options. Now, that being said, if what you want is to set up your multitasking windows faster, you can actually tap on function control and an arrow to send your app to either the right side, the left, the top, or the bottom. So if I tap on function control up, it'll go up. If I tap on function control down, it is going to go down. So this way you can very quickly set 2 apps working at the same time, as you can see. Now, another very useful command is that if you're on a given app and tap Command M, it is going to automatically minimize that app. So you can quickly get out of the app without having to find the little, yellow icon at the top left. You can just tap on Command M and boom, it's gone. But anyways, that being said, and coming back here to the settings page, if we tap on desktop and dock, then we swipe all the way at the bottom and then tap on hot corners, you'll see that we can actually customize quick actions that activate when we swipe to any of the corners of the display. As you can see, by default, we have a quick note at the bottom right. So if I swipe the cursor to the bottom right, I will quickly create a new note, just like that. Now, as you can see, this is fully customizable. So we can add, for example, the app menu at the bottom left. We can add the notification center at the top left, and we can add the screensaver at the top right. So randomly, if I swipe to the top right, I'll access, as you can see, the screensaver. But if I swipe to the bottom left, I'll automatically access the app menu. This is one of the most underrated features on the Mac. If you select those actions right for things that you actually do often, it can save you a lot of time. And well, more in the same vein, something that is also going to save you a lot of time, if you access your app menu and then type shortcuts, as you can see, there is an official Apple Shortcuts app for the Mac that is going to help you create a lot of automatizations that save a lot of time in your daily life. So let's tap right here on plus, then come right here to the right where it says Open App and drag it into the middle of the app. Now, once that's done, you want to tap on app right here and select one of the apps on your computer. Let's say the App Store. It's of course a demo, but you can choose any app you want. And then right here where it says information, you want to come to the bottom to select a keyboard shortcut. You can choose any key combination you want, but if you want to play it safe and not interfere with any other previous commands you had on your computer, you ideally want to do Control Option something. So in my case, let's do Control Option A, like that. So once that's done and I'm anywhere on my computer, I can just tap Control Option A and quickly open the App Store. Of course, once again, this is a demo. It is not useful to open the App Store that fast. But if it's an app you open all the time, like the Finder, it can actually be a lot more comfortable than, coming here, double clicking, opening a new Finder window. This is actually a much easier method. And well, speaking of the Finder, if you're a Mac user, you probably know sometimes you end up with a lot of Finder windows and it gets a little bit messy. So I've come up with a custom shortcut to delete all of your Finder windows at the same time automatically. And it is actually very easy to activate on your computer. You just have to come here to the Shortcuts app once again, then tap on plus, then tap right here on the search bar and type Run Apple Script. There we go. Once you see Run Apple Script, you want to drag it into the main frame. It is going to say that your computer cannot run scripts, something like that. So you want to tap on Preferences and then allow for the Apple Script to work. And then right here where it says your script goes here, you want to delete that text and then you want to replace it for this text right here. I'll leave it in the description. It is very simple. It essentially says, tell Application Finder, close every window. That's it. It is really simple. And then right here on the Information tab, once again, we have to tap on Add a Keyboard Shortcut. And once again, I suggest it is Control Option something. In my case, I'm going to do Control Option F. Of course, you can do whatever you want. As you can see, I've set up 3 Finder windows, so you can see it in action. Let's tap Control Option F, and boom. They're gone. You can close all of your Finder windows all at once with that simple command. Now, the good news, of course, is that there's an endless potential of shortcuts. I actually suggest you imagine what you would want to do and then ask ChatGPT to come up with the script that you then paste on the Shortcuts app. And that way you can create shortcuts for essentially anything you can imagine. But anyway, that being said, I actually forgot to tell you that the very cool Snap to Grid option that I showed you on the desktop is also available on the Finder. So if you see that your icons look like this, that they are not magnetized to each other, you can double tap, then tap on Sort By, then tap on Snap to Grid, and once again select everything, move it a little bit, and automatically it is going to align. And well, last but definitely not least, I want to talk to you about the clipboard. This is a feature that most people don't even know exists, but is actually really useful. So if you tap on Command Space 4, you'll access the clipboard. I think in your case, you'll have to accept and enter the clipboard for the first time. But once that's done, you'll essentially have the option to copy anything you've previously copied on your computer. So let's come here to Safari. Let's tap on Apple. Let's select one of these options. Say we want to copy text from the App Store. Let's copy this right here, Command C. Let's then come here to the official Rockstar page. Let's copy some text right here. Once again, Command C. Let's then grab this screen capture from my desktop, Command C once again. And well, you would think, of course, that if I tap on Command V, I would automatically paste the last thing I've copied. But if I tap on Command Space 4, you'll see that I can access everything that I've copied before. So I can select, say, the text that I copied from the App Store, and then once I go to paste that text, Command V, I will not copy the screenshot, which is the last thing I did Control V on. I will paste the thing that I selected. This may seem like a very simplistic feature, and in a lot of ways it is, but once you internalize that this is an option you have, you can actually access your copied history, so to say. It actually improves the way you work in a noticeable way. And if you ask anybody that uses the clipboard, they will say the same thing. But anyways, that being said, I think that's everything that I had when it comes to setting up your new MacBook Neo. If you have any questions regarding anything that I said, please tell me down below. And if not, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you again very soon.